What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for coming out tonight. I'm super excited to be here. I hope you guys are as well. I want to start off with a quick question. A lot of you probably know me as the High5Guy, so I want to know, what are your guys' first impressions when you see the High5Guy? What first comes to mind? Can you guys shout out some answers for me? Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of different perspectives out there, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I think that it's really important for us to challenge our perspectives, to build our perspectives, and to share our perspectives with each other, now and for the rest of our lives. So, to talk about this, I'm going to share about my life story a bit. So, let's go way back to 5th grade for me. So, in 5th grade, I've always been like an entrepreneurial kind of guy. In 5th grade, I was buying lead pencils, selling them at school. In middle school, I would buy candy at the store at Sam's Club, bring it to school, sell it out of this padfolio. It looked kind of suspicious, but it was fun. It was good. Made some decent money there. In high school, I started a business called Maryland Pawn Essentials. Got to do a lot of things with electronics, outdoor equipment, bicycles, things like that. And so, naturally, my perspective on life, my mindset was that, I'm going to be a businessman one day. I'm going to go out and get a job in the business world and have a family and be successful in that way. And so I was like, all right, got to go to the best business school so I can get that best degree. So I went out, I was like, all right, let's go to the University of Maryland Smith School of Business. So I get to the business school and I'm like, I got to make the most of this. I'm paying good money for this. We got to get everything we can out of this. So I go in, I get involved in all the clubs, all the different activities. I go to every event. People probably see me at everything, and if I'm not there, they're like, what's going on? Is this a bad event? The fact that Luke's not here? And so as I get really involved, I get to network with a lot of classmates, a lot of professors, and a lot of employers who come. And so throughout my years, I'm like, okay, I feel like I got a pretty good perspective, a pretty good view on the opportunities that I could have in business. And then one day, I was walking after an event from the business school over to my dorm, which is right across the way in Prince Frederick Hall. And I look back and I'm like, okay, this is the business school. It's this one college that's here at the entire university. There's a bunch of other colleges. Wait, maybe business is not the only thing that the world is about. Maybe there's more. Maybe there are other perspectives out there. So I don't know why I decided to go so far away to find other perspectives, but I decided that I was going to travel a lot, and I was going to go and talk to people and get to hear their perspective on life and what it is that gets them up out of bed every single day. So I did a lot of road tripping across the United States. I went to Europe and did a rail pass. And I met a lot of people and got to hear why they get up out of bed every day. And I guess you could say simultaneously I was becoming the High5Guy, because when I started back in the fall of 2016, I think most people probably just thought I was a weird, crazy kid standing outside the diner, giving out high fives, wondering, is this a social experiment? What is he trying to do? Should I high-five him, or is it am I going to catch something? Or I had one kid come up to me and he was like, hey, is this how you pick up girls? And I was like, no, that's an interesting idea. And so really there was a lot of different perspectives there. And so I continued to do high fives. I really enjoyed it. And I'll admit, there was a bit of me, my business side that came in, my entrepreneurial spirit, where I was like, okay, how do I make this work? Because there were days when I would literally stand out there for 8 hours. That's how I first started. And I realized that's not sustainable. And the reason I first started doing high fives is because 2 years prior at my church, I joined the greeting team, and we had these giant signs that said high five on them made, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Maybe I should do this every week. And I started doing it every week. And let's say at the university, Wednesday would come about, and I'd be like, man, I just wish it was Sunday already so I could just go home and high-five people. That's all I cared about. I was like, this is just so much fun. I love seeing people smile, and I enjoy it. And so I got to a point where I was like, why do I have to wait till Sunday every week? Why can't I just bring the high-fives where I am? Why don't I just bring them to campus? And to be honest, I was like, I have no idea how it's going to go. And like I said, we had all kinds of different reactions. But as I continued to do it for a whole year, it finally got to a point where people were like, okay, this is a serious thing. What is he actually doing? I'm kind of curious. And so people would start asking me what I'm doing. And now I know when I first started, I was doing it because it brought me joy and I enjoyed doing it and it was fun and I thought it possibly could be impacting other people. But when they asked me that question a year later, I was like, yeah, why am I still standing out here when it's 32 degrees out, raining, and I feel like this really sucks. Why would anybody ever want to be out here? So I think about it for a long time. I think back to all of the people that I met while I was traveling, and I think back to the fact that what I enjoyed most about all those travel and all those places is that I really got to hear from people and to know what their life is about. And I was like, okay, so I went really far away to find out people's perspective on life. Why not just talk to the people that I see every single day? It's kind of weird. Standing outside the diner every single day, you see the same person like maybe for like 3 seconds. You like give them a quick high five, or like maybe they don't like high fives and that's completely cool, and so you just like say hi to them, and you see them for just like 3 seconds but every single day, and it kind of makes this weird situation where it's like, I think we're friends, but like we don't really say it. Like it just like there's like an interesting connection. So I was like, okay, let's try to get to know these students. So I'm a big YouTuber. I love making YouTube videos. I actually vlogged all of these trips on my YouTube channel. So if you want to check those out, you can. But I started a series called High5Guy Interviews with Unique Individuals. And so I started getting to know some of the students, and I started to say, hey, would you mind being in a series where I'm talking to people about what they're passionate about, what they're an expert at? And they're like, well, I'm not an expert in anything. And I was like, sure you are. I mean, an expert is when you know more about something than the person next to you. Like, I would consider myself an expert when that situation comes up. So a lot of times I'm an expert in business because most of the people next to me don't know a lot about like secondhand marketing and stuff like that. So either way, I got a bunch of people to do those interviews, and it's really cool to get to know the people. And so now as I'm doing that, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of cool people out here, a lot of awesome people who have unique things that really make them stand out and that they can honestly use to impact people the same way that I use high fives to impact people. And as I think about it, I was like, okay, so what do I do now with this? Like, what's the next step? Like, thinking back to that question, like, okay, so why do I do high fives? And I was like, the reason I do high fives is because there's all these awesome people out here, and over the last year and a half, I've really gotten to hear from them and see how what I do impacts them, whether it be like they really appreciate the high fives, or whether it be that I'm a source of encouragement for them, or whether it be that they invite me to come out to something and I come out and I support them and it's an awesome experience. But in all of it, I realized that like in the beginning I was doing high fives because I enjoyed it. It was about me. It was like a thing that I wanted to do. But the reason I stay out there even on the worst of days is because those are the days that probably people need it even more, and that it's an opportunity for me to demonstrate something that I actually was a little bit scared to talk about at first, but I realized I shouldn't be scared to talk about it because it's what I'm passionate about. And so now I tell people, after much deliberation with myself, I said, all right, so the reason I stand outside every day is to demonstrate how unconditional and consistent God's love is for people. Now, I know not everybody is religious, not everybody necessarily agrees with my view, but I do believe that like it's important to share your perspective, like I said. So now when people ask me, I get to share about God's love. And for me, that's what keeps me outside every day, because what it means to me is that, like, if you don't know what the gospel is the good news of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is being the Son of God who came to this earth and died on the cross for our sins. Because, to be honest, as I got to know a lot of students, we all struggle with something. There's all something that, like, we're trying to go for, something that we're missing. As I look back to all the people I met when I was traveling, a lot of them were focusing on, like, improving themselves and getting farther in life, but they all always described, like, this point where, like, they were going and going, and then, like, all of a sudden, like, something fell through, and they just felt like, okay, what's next? Like, there's nothing more. Like, I got to a peak, or I got to a point where, like, the high is no longer there. And so what I see in the beauty of the gospel message is that even though when I fail, there's, like, this magical, like, bird or something that comes and picks me up and lifts me back up and puts me back on that mountain of going up. And so when I think about high fives now, and I get up every morning and I'm like, oh, it's 8:30 in the morning, I don't want to go over to North Diner. I go, well, this is my opportunity to, in an unintrusive way, share a message that I believe to be true. And that's the thing, is like, I know a lot of people think about Christianity and about religion as like trying to convert people to something, but that's not really what it's about. What it's about is like sharing that message and letting people decide for themselves. Like, I truly believe in free will, but I also believe in like an awesome plan for my life that God has for me. So as I think about that, that's what keeps me outside doing high fives every single day, even on the worst days. And as I transition into the next part of my life, going to work for Southwest Airlines in just like less than 2 weeks, I kind of am like sad to leave all the students here because I love them so much, and like I've just been able to create a relationship with them. But at the same time, I'm excited to see where I can continue using my unique gifts to love on people and to share that message. And so, whether people are religious or not, my goal in leaving campus is to encourage people to think more about how they can love their neighbor and how they can love on each other. Because honestly, we're all going through hard things, like I said, and I've gotten to hear from a lot of students and gotten to be able to be there for them and share some of my struggles with them as well. And if we all just were more loving to each other, I think it'd be great. I mean, even if it's something as simple as putting up a sticky note that says you're doing a great job and have a great day, or whether it be giving somebody a high five or just checking in on your neighbor, or if you're an artistic person, making a piece of art for somebody, or if you are good at sports video games and you always beat your friends but you let them win one time. Like just anything, that little thing that you can do to love on your neighbor, I think is important. And like that's what I want people to get to think about, is like there's lots of things that you can do to challenge your perspective. And the important thing is to talk to people, because that's really how I challenged my perspective and changed my perspective the most. It's like, I can go to class and stand in the classroom and take notes and like be like, oh, that's an interesting concept. I wonder how that applies to my life. But like when you really hear from people who are passionate about things, that's when things really stick with you. And so I want to challenge everybody to think more about how they can challenge their perspective, how they can build their perspective, and how they can share that perspective with people as they go throughout life. And so to end, I want to give you guys one thing that I really think is an important thing to think about, which is love, and like where love comes from, what it means. I don't know, some of you might have seen me walking around campus with a whiteboard asking people questions about love. Like, I put up sticky notes with a bunch of other people who I've gotten to join me because they really see the impact in like when you love on somebody else, you really feel good about yourself and you're actually impacting people. So there's lots of different things that we can do. And so I want people to think about what love means, and I want people to think about it so much that I bought 3,000 bracelets like the one I'm wearing right now, and I'm giving them out across campus, and they have a link to a website that talks about love and the different kinds of love using Greek and the kind of impact that we can have on each other by loving each other. If you, and I'm just going to end with this quick fun fact, but if you were to love 3 people, do a random act of kindness for 3 people in a day, and those 3 people did 3 people for the next day, and you guys, everybody continued to do those 3 acts, in 26 days, I forget the grand total number of acts of kindness, but you will end up, each person on planet Earth will end up receiving 241 random acts of kindness in a single day. And that's just after 21 days of doing it. So I just want you guys to think a little bit more about how you can challenge your perspective, how you can build your perspective, and how you can share it with others. Thank you. And if you guys want bracelets, I will be getting them out after the talk. Good job.